For this card design, I'm going to start simple. So I'm going to be using circles. And so what you're going to need is a matte layer onto a card blank. And I decided I'm going to go with black. My card blank is going to be a craft card blank. And then I've got a topper. So you're going to have to pick a topper and then a coordinating panel here. Actually, a couple panels. And so typically what you do is you matte layer on top of here and you go here. And if you want to, you just keep on stacking on top. But we're going to recognize that this back layer is black, and I'd love to do a black shadow. So first off, I'm going to stick with circles because I can actually cut into this topper however I want to. First thing I want to do is get rid of those nibs, so I'm going to use a circle cutting die that kind of trims those off for me so I don't have to go in with my scissors. And I'm going to take a look at it, kind of position it somewhere in here, but I know I'm going to want a shadow. So again, rather than just stacking another black circle, what I'm going to do is going to cut into this first panel to give me a shadow circle in here. Now I've already done that. So let me pull this off. I'm going to come in with my panel. And so I've pretty much achieved the same thing as if I took a black circle and put it on top of my matte layer. But this, well, first off, I've got a circle left over for something else. And then also I get the same effect, except I can go in. So it also lightens and it keeps your profile small on your card. So let me trim this. I'm also going to mat it. So I've got a white circle here somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to do that and I'll be back. And then we're going to take a look at this negative space. So once I've assembled to this point, this is the core of the card design. And I did mat the topper and put it on foam pads, and this way I've got a little bit of height here, because what I want to do now is take some of these additional embellishments and kind of cluster something going off on this side. So I've got a couple flowers, I've got some twine, I've got another die cut, and I've got a sentiment. So I'm going to group that together. And let me just show you what this is. So this is a Craftwork Cards collection. So it comes with a lot of coordinating papers to like 32 circle toppers. So you can see where I'm in the need for some round card designs. And so I've already done another couple in exactly the same way. And so I'm going to leave photos of those, but these are in the different colors. And of course, I'm going to do envelopes and interiors as well. And so I've already stamped the interior. I used a mask to create another circle. So a circle on just a piece of paper, because the thinner the better. And then a series of stamps. And so that's how the insides turned out. Now, I'm going to leave photos of that finished piece once I put everything together. But I'm going to use a different color combo again. Kind of start the same way, but then I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I've come back with a totally different project, and that's because on the one that I was planning to do, I was going to tweak the design a little bit, but this is the exact same design, and there's a couple of points that I want to make here. First off, a topper. I call it a topper, and I use the term loosely, but all in this design we're talking about is a shape, so an image on a shape. In this case, I've got some Dazzle stickers, but this could be a stamped image, or it could just be a pretty piece or section of your pattern paper, but cut into a shape. The second thing is, if you're using, like this is a snowflake, and it depends how you orient the shape, whether you're going to create a shadow. So before I cut into this panel, I designed this, and so I know it's going to go this way, and so when I cut my snowflake out of this panel here, I make sure that it's oriented the same way. And so I've got, end up something like this. And then lastly, these are some framelits from Stampin' Up, and they're not nested. And so what you can do to make a mat is just offset it a little bit, because I don't have a larger one. I certainly don't want to fussy cut it. it's just going to show up something like this. I did raise it on foam. It's going to go like this. And then the other thing, or the last thing is, of course, this space is great for stacking up different embellishments. So I'm going to kind of stick with these dazzle stickers. Got a piece of ribbon here, a sentiment. I'm going to arrange it like so. So I'm going to finish up this piece. It's a smaller piece. The die cut is a little bit smaller. And then I'll go on with tweaking the design. I'm back with these materials, and so the first thing I was noticing as I was putting this thing together is that, I cut into the one panel, but I've got another color here that I can expose again by just cutting deeper. And so I took a yet smaller circle, and once I placed this mat onto that layer, I went ahead and center cut, and it doesn't matter that it's a little bit off, I didn't tape it down or anything, just kind of eyeballed it, because now I'm going to have something like this. So it's not exactly a shadow, but if I raise this up, well, first off, I could put it down, add my embellishments, and have pretty neat, nifty card design. But since I've got two pieces here, paper and a piece of cardstock, I'm going to use some foam to back it. And that's going to raise this up. I'm still going to keep this piece. Maybe I'll raise it up, maybe I won't. And then I'll have a deeper section here where maybe I'm going to stick some chunkier embellishments. So this is the sort of thing I put on those last two cards. I'll probably add some buttons in the right colors, maybe a chunkier ribbon. So let me square that away, and then I'll be back with this finished piece. Here's the finished greeting card. And so I certainly did chunk it up quite a bit. And so the first thing I'm noticing when you raise the panel, this depth gives you room to take your embellishments and kind of move from under your focal to over your mat. And so I took advantage of that. Actually started beneath here and raised up on some foam, and then added some of my chunkier buttons and also a chunkier ribbon like I had talked about. And I added several other things because I do love a nice embellishment, and this is a nice protected area of your card. It does raise up over the surface a little bit, and actually when I take the photo you might not see the dimension and the movement of these embellishments, but it is really pretty. And I do want to talk about another thing, because I had all my shadows so far have been pretty much the same size as my focal, but you could go larger, you could go smaller. It kind of depends on the angle of the light, really, for a traditional shadow. But that's how that's finished out. Okay, I wanted to show two more pieces, and I've got setup photos and I've got the finished pieces, but let me leave photos of that, and then we'll talk about this piece. I wanted to show a couple different shapes. So this is a basic square, and then for the card blank I just echoed the square that I used for my focal and shadow. And the other thing is, if you're into mixed media, this is a great design for your mixed media panels, because usually, or typically, you make one panel and then what do you do with it? Well, this is a good design for that. And I had talked about when you've got this cutout section, use it for something else. Well, there's really nothing else when you make a single panel. So I just took that and made that my focal. Added a couple stamped images that I fussy cut afterward, and kept my embellishments relatively simple. So just a piece of this raffia, some sequins, and then the sentiment. And then the inside, just kind of stamped more of those shamrocks. So this is a St. Patrick's Day greeting. And then the other thing I had talked about was a pretty piece of pattern paper, and this is one that I've got really limited, so when I took this out I fussy cut some of these for my embellishments. Of course, if you want to add some additional pieces, you can do that as well. So this is really glittery. It's a Halloween make, and then again kind of stamped that image and actually stamped and heat embossed this focal. So anyway, whether you go this way, well, first off, I'm going to leave photos of these finished pieces, but I sure hope you give this card design a try. Maybe keep it in your library for these mixed media panels, because like I said, there's few card designs that really showcase those pieces that you take a lot of time creating. And then, of course, if you've got cutting dies, great way to go. Anyway, I thank you for watching.